And thank you guys so much for joining us for our first ever episode of the Free Throw. Got it that time. And it is the basketball podcast of the Liberty Sports Network. I'm Mitchell. That's Alec. That's Alex. And that's Ben. And the song that you're hearing right now is Space Jam from the movie Space Jam. I know, so thoughtful. You know. Okay. Anyways, moving into the podcast. This podcast is going to be centered around mostly the NBA. However, in 2 months, there's something big going on in the basketball world, and it is not the play-in tournament. It is March Madness. And we will be doing a bracket with, say, maybe some of our fans. It depends on what we get on interactions on this. Would you be wanting to do a bracket challenge with us? Leave some comments and likes down below, and we'll maybe do it. But good
These are absolutely horrible brackets.
Yes.
I was going to say,
We're going to be wildly
guaranteed
wrong about that much.
everyone is guaranteed to beat Alex bracket. Just for sure.
I don't know about that. We'll see.
If you beat Alec, you get a bonus point. Anyways, moving on from that, this, as I said, this is just a basketball podcast where we come and hang out. We are all Sixers fans. Man, we all like to talk basketball from time to time. Even Ben was on an NCAA basketball podcast at one point, so he's got knowledge in that expertise. But let's just start off with the simple thing. Joel Embiid is really good at basketball. Do we all agree on that?
And not just the stats, but the scoring high amounts of points in not a ton of minutes. Like when he had 50 points and whatever, like 12, 13 rebounds in 27 minutes. It's just the PER, or like the efficiency, is the highest of all time. It's amazing what he's doing.
Truly. Yeah, I agree. He just won Eastern Conference Player of the Week this week. And I believe Alex was saying before we went on air, he would have beaten out Stephen Curry for points per minute, I believe, if he would have scored 35 in his last game.
He would have actually been in the lead for points per game.
Wow.
So if he played tonight, which is amazing considering like just all the odds against him, really.
Yeah, and he, just a reminder, he's 7 feet. He's a tall guy, and he's working without Ben Simmons. And this is the healthiest Joel has been all year. I'm knocking on wood. He has not gotten a major injury other than COVID-19, which he had earlier in the year. We're seeing a well-improved Joel Embiid who is able to do a lot for this team. Granted, Tobias Harris recently has began to play like the Tobias Harris we all know and love and not hate and want to trade away to literally Timbuktu. But at this trade deadline, we all know Ben Simmons is not going to be traded. Do we all agree on that? Do we think Ben Simmons will be gone in 10 days?
Biggest trade partner was the Kings, and that went out the door, so probably.
I honestly don't know. I for some reason I get a feeling in the back of my mind that they're trying to make the narrative that they're keep as long as possible, but in reality, I think they're trying to do something behind the scenes, and there might be there's very well a team out there who might very well be in the running for Simmons that we don't know about yet, and at this very moment the Sixers could very well be in the works. They could very well something in the works.
You have to remember the trade deadline is where teams just get desperate. They just go out of their minds to try to get talent. And if the Sixers are smart and work behind the scenes, there will be a team that's desperate enough to take them off our hands. Now, the price for that, I don't know. And are we going to get rid of Simmons? Not likely. There's only 10 days left. But I think there's a team desperate enough. We just have to fight the right price.
Daryl Morey has proven to be, sorry to interrupt you, pretty stubborn in a way, I guess, like in a good way. Like obviously the Sixers want the best back for Simmons, but the asking price hasn't dropped much. So that's the other thing too, is like whatever team wants to trade for him, it's not going to budge. It's not going to go through. I think we do it in the offseason, if anything.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And just saying, if it's going to happen, I believe full-heartedly it will be with the Brooklyn Nets for James Harden. James Harden rumors have kicked up a notch over the past month with a proposed deal, a trade deadline deal, might I add, with Ben Simmons and Tyrese Maxey going to the Brooklyn Nets and picks for James Harden and a first-round pick. While I would like to keep Maxey, I believe sending 3 first-round picks and Ben Simmons for Harden and a second-round pick would be enough in order to keep Maxey with us, because I believe the Sixers would run a lineup of point guard being Tyrese Maxey, the shooting guard being Seth Curry, the small forward position would be James Harden, Tobias Harris would rock that power forward position, and then Embiid would run the fifth. And in my opinion, that would be probably the best starting five in the Eastern Conference.
The offense would be phenomenal if everybody's healthy. If COVID isn't still happening by the time we play with this lineup, the defense would lack a little bit, so the bench would need to carry that. Joel obviously carries that a little bit. I just don't know that getting James Harden, I don't know how much it would empty out our bench if we would look to trade like Simmons and bench players. So I'm not.
Because I think it's come out, the Nets, if they trade them, are not looking for many other players in return other than picks. I mean, because Brooklyn's got a pretty stacked lineup anyways. I mean, they could use, say, a Danny Green maybe. And Matisse Thybulle, I mean, those are probably our two things. But then again, you got to remember, even if we do trade Tyrese Maxey, you got Matisse Thybulle who can roll in that lineup. You got Danny Green who can roll into that lineup. As much as I love Tyrese, I'm on the side of keeping Tyrese Maxey over trading for James Harden and waiting on a potential sign and trade with Harden in the summer. But it's just Daryl Morey's got to do something this trade deadline if we want to take advantage of Joel Embiid's best year. He's performing even better than he did last year, and we didn't think that was possible. And I think this is just another gear. I mean, you never know. Embiid could take another step next year and be insane. But then again, you never know. This could be the peak of Joel Embiid's career, and you just can't really hedge your bets on this is going to happen again next year.
The James Harden option seems like the most likely option. I think the only other team that comes to mind is the Pacers, who, in my opinion, should go for a rebuild. But I just don't think it makes sense. Like anybody like Brogdon, LeVert, or Sabonis, I don't think makes sense for the Sixers. So
yeah, I agree. I mean, got to remember, Daryl Morey has spent his entire general managerial career either trying to trade for James Harden or playing for or working for James Harden. You got to admit that. Daryl Morey has an insane connection with James Harden. And you just got to wait and see what happens with this.
I love the optimism, but I just don't think, like, if I were James Harden, I don't know if you'd be able to pry me away from the Brooklyn Nets with the appeal of playing with KD.
See, the thing is, that's what I would say too, but apparently he's grown angry with the Nets over their handling of the Kyrie situation. And he's been out and said, I love playing for this team. However, it's hard to play every night with, say, half a player in your starting lineup, referring to Kyrie Irving only being available to play in away games for the Brooklyn Nets. And
that reasoning is understandable, but I just don't know. Like,
it's a situation where if it happens, it happens. Besides, last year we tried trading for James Harden. Then again, the price was way high. We didn't think the Nets would pay up for that price of a lot of first round picks going to the Rockets.
Well, we almost traded. It was just with the Rockets. This was before he got traded to the Nets. So this would have been Ben Matisse and a few picks going just to the Rockets, and then us getting Harden.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be happy with anything just to help Embiid. I just don't want another George Hill trade again. I just don't want that. That trade was awful. Doc's coaching in the playoffs was awful. Ben Simmons was awful. There was a lot of awful things that happened in that second half of the season that could have been fixed at the trade deadline last year. But then again, with Kyle Lowry, I mean, he's not doing too well. I mean, Miami's doing insane. Don't get me wrong. So the fact is, if we would have traded Tyrese Maxey and Matisse Thybulle and picks for Kyle Lowry, I don't think we would be having the same conversation.
No. Yeah, I agree with that. I think. Look, I love Lowry. I really do. I think he's a great basketball player, but I also was not keen on the idea of parting with both Thybulle and Maxey as well as first round picks for a guy who would be under contract for 1 year. Again, he's really a player, but I just can't. But again, both Thybulle and Maxey on the same team, on a rival team, they'll be on there for years, and that trade could really come back to bite them for a long time if they made it.
And the thing with Simmons is, if teams, I mean, you always see other teams' fans saying Simmons is good. Why are you just not playing him? You got to remember, Simmons is a rookie of the year, granted how real that really is and how talented he really is. Simmons is a talented player, and people are really saying, "Oh, you got to throw in Maxey." It's with them. It's like Simmons is a quality player within himself. You attach a couple first round picks to him. Then again, we're asking for more first round picks in return.
It's a little bit of it's a double-edged sword, obviously, because we
Yeah.
want to be like, Ben Simmons sucks, whatever, but then we want to get a lot for him in return.
Yeah.
Well, you also have to remember he's been sitting out all this time. When you're not really working out and conditioning, and in your normal routine in the NBA or any sports league for that matter, I mean, you just start to lose your edge. You start to lose your game. So that also comes into the factor of, okay, what Ben Simmons are we getting? Are we getting a defensive player of the year, or are we getting an out of shape bum? So that also comes into effect. And also that the main factor why he's not getting traded is because he's kind of a spoiled brat, just on his own. Because he comes over to your team, he says, "Well, are you going to be sticking around on our team and giving 100% effort any night, or are you going to go run back to mommy?" That's also while that is joking around. I mean, I'm serious. He is a chemistry issue. He's been a chemistry issue with Joel for years. Why would you want that cancer in your locker room?
Agree. And you can see, I mean, don't get me wrong, Joel was trying to get back in contact with Simmons, and Simmons disrespectfully declined any communication between the two. And you can see Joel finally cut ties with them and basically sounded off of them as soon as that happened. And you could tell when Ben showed up to that one practice where we got all the memes from, you tell he wasn't going to be there for long. And he just bought a NFT that was worth like 500 grand. I think we should start finding him again, because I think he's trying to, and he got him married too. So he's doing a lot of things, and his mind's not with basketball at this moment.
They should have been finding him this entire time. There's no reason, because he's not playing, so he's not showing up to his job. So why should he be making money on his contract? It makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
But any closing thoughts on this Ben Simmons situation before we move on and talk about some other NBA news?
There's a stand outside of Lincoln Financial Field. They have great Ben Simmons shirts. Buy them if you get a chance.
Yes,
support a local creator.
Yeah, they're very interesting shirts. I might add that, and if you see them, they're a very good shirt.
Get it for a Christmas gift for next year, or birthday gifts, anything. Just support a local creator.
Yeah, but let's do a brief conference roundup here, starting with the Eastern Conference, rounding up the top 5. Tell me which one of these teams doesn't sound like they would be there, but there actually are. We got the Heat, we got the Bulls, we got your Philadelphia 76ers, Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Bucks. Tell me which one do you think it sounds like?
There's two. There's two.
Yes.
The Bulls. Okay, so the Bulls coming in to the offseason, right? They get DeMar DeRozan and they trade for Nikola Vucevic, and everyone thinks, okay, good moves, but does the Nikola Vucevic trade work? Because you gave up two first-round picks and Wendell Carter Jr. for an offensively oriented center. Then you sign DeMar DeRozan. You get Lonzo Ball. Okay, a low-tier playoff team. But is this team truly a contender? This team's chemistry is going to be off. This team isn't going to be the Bulls that everyone wants them to be. But no, they truly came into the season like they proved everybody wrong. DeMar was an MVP candidate before he started cooling down. Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan should have been all-star starters this season. They kicked it into high gear and really just kind of shat on everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cavs, who have an astronomical amount of young talent, led by Darius Garland. They're just, everyone is playing really well. Kevin Love, Lowry Markkanen before he got hurt. Just a whole team effort and phenomenal coaching. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. Just speed little things up because Zoom has its little timer thing. Just to sound up on the Cavaliers here. I mean, they have a former Penn State person on them, Lamar Stevens. So I'll always have a little soft spot for the Cavs. And here comes the Penn State bias. I got to fit it in there every episode. But the Cavaliers in general, nobody expected this team to do anything. They were linked with trading away 2 of their top 3 players on their team for Ben Simmons earlier in the year. But now look at them. They're 30-20. They are on they're 8-2 in their last 10 games. They beat the Bucks. They are on a roll, and they traded for Rajon Rondo, and he has done a really good job for how little the Cavs
But if you
paid
if
for
you
him.
look at the stats, like Garland 19.8, Allen 16.1, Sexton before he got hurt though.
Kevin Love's revival has carried
Evan
this team.
Mobley is probably a Rookie of the Year candidate. Rubio before he got hurt, and then Okoro, Osman, Rondo. They're really contributing. It's a very deep team. They're not top heavy in the slightest bit, and I think their inexperience is going to kill them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Personally, but I think that for the future they're set up.
And once again, just looking at the Western Conference, to move over a little bit, the Suns are the last team in the league to have non-double-digit losses. They're 40-9 and have won their last 10 games. But also, talk about another revival. The Grizzlies are in third place. They didn't make the playoffs last year. I think they lost in the play-in tournament, didn't they?
Yep. Oh wait,
And
No,
they
they got
beat
the
the
playoffs.
Warriors.
they beat the Warriors, so they made it to the play-in tournament final, and then
Barely, but lost to the Suns in the
Yes.
first round, I believe.
then we have the Lakers are 24-27, and they have lost their last 3 games. Are in 3-7 in the last 10.
The
Yeah.
super teams don't always work.
And that was like one of my crazy trade scenarios, was trading for Russell Westbrook and
No,
AD for
no.
for Ben Simmons and like Tyrese Maxey. It would have been like the tallest lineup and the most bricks shots lineup in like forever. Then again, AD did smoke us when he played against us the other
Yeah,
day.
but
So.
that's a few good games during the season. But it's not that's not even like he's playing solid. Russell Westbrook just
Not
has
so much.
some Ben Simmons level stuff happening.
I mean,
It's
Steph Curry's got the Ben Simmons bug with how many bricks he's shooting right
like
now.
like he can build the Western Wall in Jerusalem with this amount of bricks that he's shooting. I feel really bad for him. I feel bad for the Lakers because I love the team. I love the 3 players. But Frank Vogel needs to go if this keeps happening, and just they're not like you can't have no shooting on a team and expect anything to happen.
Yeah, and just to go on this, the NBA released its new power rankings today, and the Sixers made it to 4th place on their rankings, and they are also beating the Heat out, so the Heat are in 5th. They're in 4th, and Joel Embiid is the now new MVP favorite right now. It just shows how much Joel Embiid is important to this team, to the city, to this franchise.
We just need him
And we need to take advantage of it. I mean, granted, I don't think Joel Embiid's leaving in this career. He's retire here in Philly.
Hopefully.
If he does leave, it's gonna be for we're blowing things up and there's no need for him anymore and get him a ring. But on that note, I think he's gonna have a Harper situation. Even if he doesn't do anything, he's gonna stay with us and just work it out. But then again, I can see the Sixers' future is brighter than it was last year. I can say I enjoy watching this team more than I did last year, especially because Ben Simmons. I don't get mad at Ben Simmons for taking shots every 2 minutes.
Yeah, and also, I thought the Lakers are coached by Joe Gatto.
Let's be honest. LeBron James is the coach on that team. Okay, we all know that. If there was a player coach in this league, it would be LeBron James.
And LeBron is doing phenomenal. He's averaging like 29 points, but just everything with that team is so wrong. You're just I don't even know how to describe it. They're just not the Lakers everyone thought they would be.
Yeah. Well, this brings us to the closing thoughts of today's episode. So going back to you, Alex, what are your final thoughts of today's first ever episode of the 3?
Okay. So the Pacers are going to blow it up, right? Mm-hmm. This is my bold prediction. Pacers are going to go for a complete rebuild. They are 18-33 right now. And they're 3-7 in the last game. I know I'm using my hands to talk. I do this a lot. But they should do it. Their coach, I think, is fine for the rebuild. Okay. But no, they should really go for a complete rebuild and get their best players, their best opportunities on other teams. It's just they're going to be crap if they keep their players. That's it.
I agree. Alec?
My bold prediction that the Sixers make a semi-major trade, but it doesn't involve Ben Simmons.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And Ben?
You know what? I'm really happy. This was a great episode, as Mitchell puts it, the Free Throw podcast.
Yeah. Tree throw.
We need outtakes. We definitely need outtakes.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming on for this first ever edition of the three. I said it wrong again. Damn it. All right, the Free Throw Podcast. There we go. This is a subby problem. I should have picked a different name for this podcast. But it doesn't take away from the fact that we had a great conversation, and we hope to see you guys again next time. Thank you guys for tuning in once again to the Free Throw Podcast. There we go. And once again, be sure to check out the other podcasts on the Liberty Sports Network YouTube page where this is posted, and share it with your friends, and leave comments down below if you would like to take part in a March Madness tournament bracket. Once again, I'm Mitchell, that's Ben, that's Alec, and that's Alex. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.